Immigration. Who's coming into the country? Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my series where we talk about all the issues surrounding Brexit, giving you the tools to make your own plan, and joining the poll in the corner and comment below and debate about what it is you want from the Brexit deal. Today we're talking about immigration, obviously, and we're going to be talking about who's coming into the country, where they are coming from, where are they going to in regards to the country, what areas are they working in, and that last point, how we can get immigration down. I want you to comment below or take part in the polls as to how you think we can get immigration in the UK down without affecting our economy. So let's start with the net migration map from 1975. I've shown this before on my channel. Basically it shows that the under 45-year-olds had it pretty easy in terms of immigration. Immigration didn't rise much, the minus thousands to a couple of thousands, but for you under 45-year-olds, you've only ever seen it rise into nearly 300,000 now. The point in the Brexit vote was to try and get net migration to lower to the tens of thousands. That's what we were promised, but as you can see, we've still got a long way to go. This is British immigration versus British emigration versus British net migration. So British-born people haven't really changed how much they leave the country to how much they come into the country since 1991. And as you can see, it's pretty much stayed the same. There's not much to say about that. This is non-British immigration versus non-British emigration versus non-British net migration. So the blue is immigration, which has risen. The green is net migration, which has risen. But emigration has pretty much stayed the same, if not slightly, ever so slightly, lowered a bit. So there've been slightly less people leaving, but a hell of a lot more people coming in. This is total EU immigration versus total EU emigration versus total EU net migration. So the blue is EU immigration, again risen dramatically by a good, a couple of 100,000 in the last few years. Net migration has risen with the immigration, and emigration has fallen ever so slightly in more recent years. Total non-EU immigration versus total non-EU emigration versus total non-EU net migration. So since 1991, non-EU immigration has risen and then pretty much stayed around this 300,000 mark. Net migration has risen and stayed pretty much around this 200,000 mark. And emigration, this is very interesting, stayed around the minus 100,000 mark, and then we've seen this weird peak after the Brexit vote, maybe a panic of people leaving, but that's very interesting as to what the Brexit vote actually did to non-EU migrants. This is total EU net migration versus total non-EU net migration. So the blue line is non-EU net migration, which has risen since 1991 and stayed around about 200,000 mark, but has recently more risen up nearer the 250,000 mark. EU net migration has, well, between 1991, before we got that 2004 extra states became part of the European Union, it pretty much stayed around the 0 mark. I mean, there was a bit of a rise there, but then after those states joined, it rose at highest peak at up to nearly 200,000. But more recently, it's fallen again. Again, that's the result in the Brexit vote. Even though we've had this Brexit vote, we've seen non-EU migrants rise, but EU migrants have fallen. So where are all these migrants more specifically coming from? Okay, so there's two ways of looking at it: country of birth and country of citizenship. The highest percentage for country of births are Poland, India, Pakistan, Ireland and Germany. And the highest percentages for country of citizenship again are Poland, India, Ireland, Portugal, and Romania. So it's not that different. Poland appears twice, Ireland appears twice, India appears twice. It's only the Pakistanis who maybe take up different citizenship from the country of birth, and that's why they're not as high. Top 10 countries of birth of migrants in London in 2015. And this is showing that back in 2015, India, Poland, Pakistan, Nigeria, Ireland, Bangladesh, Italy, France, and Jamaica. This is interesting, showing where they're going to in regards to the country, and you can see that the highest percentage of people are going to the rest of the North East, followed by Tyne and Wear, followed by Merseyside, and then South Yorkshire, and then the rest of Yorkshire and Humberside as well is in that. So the North and the North East have seen the biggest percentage changes of immigration. I think this is overall foreign-born migrants per area, and as expected, London and the South East is where you see the most foreign-born migrants, because obviously that's a tourist area, but also it's a well-known area, it's a big city, it's a financial area. And in fact, Northern Ireland is at the bottom of the list with just 1.4%, which might explain why Northern Ireland voted to remain in the referendum. Employment rates of foreign-born and UK-born from 1993 to 2017. So the blue line is UK-born males, the black line is UK-born females, the green line is foreign-born males, and the orange is foreign-born females. So UK-born males have seen rising about 80% employment back in the early 2000s, and then it fell. Maybe after the banking crisis, it fell back closer to 75,000. It's rising ever so slightly since to back up to 80,000, but it's actually fallen below during that banking crisis, below the foreign-borns, and they're still below the foreign-borns, this green line. As for the females, there's a huge disparity between the UK-born and the foreign-borns, but there's not really a lot to say except that it's been steadily rising on both levels, which is good for feminine equality. Employment rate by country and region of birth 2017. So Oceania has seen the biggest employment rate in the UK. Africa, other Asia, India, and even the UK comes out some of the lowest in this data. Particularly amongst women, other Asia and India are the worst. Amongst men, I'd say the UK and North America turns out to be the worst employment rate by country and region of birth. Real hourly wage for male and female foreign-born and UK-born from 1993 to 2017. So the blue line is UK-born males, and you can see that it's been steadily rising to around about 12. Imagine that's £12 per hour. The foreign-born males was rising, but now it's slowly more sunk to closer to £10 an hour. The foreign-born females was rising before that banking crisis, but slowly kind of sunk a bit below about, £9 an hour. And the UK-born females is largely the same. So there's a disparity. It's the opposite of the other graph I showed you. There's a disparity between UK-born males and foreign-born males. Foreign-born females and UK-born females are largely the same. Percentage of those in employment who are EU and non-EU migrants, 1993 to 2017. Not a lot to say about this, except that it's been steadily rising. Occupational distribution for foreign-born and UK-born workers in 2017. So this is where most people in the UK are working. So the EU migrants are mostly working in these low-paid elementary occupational jobs. The non-EU migrants are most working in these professional jobs, and UK-born people are working in professional jobs as well. As you can see that the least number of British people work in sales. Now that might be because it's a lot smaller sector. You can see that amongst the migrants as well, it's a very small percentage. So perhaps we would have to focus on somehow getting even more, perhaps even doubling the percentages of people in professional vocations and try and get people into these elementary occupations that are going to be left behind by the loss of the EU migrants. Industry distribution for foreign-born and UK-born workers, 2017. So most EU migrants are working in retail, hotels and restaurants, followed by public administration and education, followed by manufacturing. The non-EU migrants are mostly working in public administration and education, followed by retail, hotels and restaurants, followed by transport and communication. And of course, UK-born people are mostly working in hotels. So hotels and restaurants obviously require a lot of people to run their industry. You need a lot of housekeeping and chefs and retailers to work in the retail, hotel and restaurants industries. So filling those gaps is going to be very difficult when it comes to lowering immigration. But I'd like to know in the comments below how you would fill the gaps in the industries that require the most people and how you would serve those lower paid jobs that the EU migrants are filling in. Top 10 occupations of foreign-born workers. So EU workers mostly work as packers, bottlers, canners and fillers, followed by food, drink and tobacco processors, followed by housekeeping and related occupation, and then forklift truck drivers. Non-EU workers most work as taxi cab drivers and chauffeurs, then security guards and related occupations, shopkeepers and proprietors, and chefs. So chefing, food and drink, factory working, it's all got to be filled in by British workers in the coming years if we're to lower immigration. Let me know how you do that in the comments below. Top 10 sectors of EU and non-EU foreign-born workers 2017. So EU workers mostly work in manufacturing, domestic personnel and accommodation. Non-EU workers mostly work in security-related activities, land transport, and computer programming and consultancy. So that's it for today, guys. Let me know your opinions in the comments below. Join in the polls in the corner and subscribe.